So let's add some finishing touches. We can add a little drop shadow to make sure that his head kind of casts a little shadow on the G, just to add a little bit of that layered effect. Just doing a simple drop shadow, and let's bring out the distance. And I'm going to unclick, use global light, because I don't want my other drop shadows affected. So I'm just unclicking that and finding the right angle of where it's cast. So right about there would be perfect. Very small drop shadow, not a lot of opacity. Just enough to give it a little bit of that layered look, a little richness. And lastly, there's a couple things we need to do. First of all, we need to do a visibility test. So a visibility test is zooming out quite a bit. So let's do 50%. And this is kind of a realistic way to frame your stuff, because you want to do visibility tests so you can kind of get a realistic picture of how the viewer is going to see your digital document. So right now, this is probably a realistic thumbnail size that you'll see on a desktop screen. And we can zoom out even more to do a visibility test. So can I read it? Yes, the type is very clear. I can see the man's eyeglasses. I can make out the dollar signs. And you can do one more step and go to 25% and go, can I still read it? If the thumbnail was smaller, can I still read it? Yes, I can. It checks all the boxes, so it passes all my tests. So I'm ready to get a little bit more serious about getting ready to export it. It's been about 20 minutes, and that's about the time you want to be able to do a YouTube thumbnail in. If it's taking you more than 20 minutes, you got to find ways to speed up your process of getting things together, because we want to be fast, efficient, and do good work. So that's what an intermediate to advanced designer needs to start doing, is moving fast and getting ideas popping out so that you can charge, for your hour of work for a thumbnail and not overcharge and take 5 hours to do what should be done very quickly for a video. So right now we have this rich, colorful background. We have this rich, high contrast yellow, white type going on. One thing we can do is, as a lot of YouTube people do this, is they'll make their photo or the main photo grayscale so that the typography has a chance to really come out. So we're going to try that here. We have our layer here. We're going to go up and see if we can't make this black and white. So I'm just going to go down, and you'll notice when you have a smart layer on or a smart object on a photo, it's great for sizing it, but when you need to do edits, it does make it a little bit difficult. So when I go at the image, I can still make it grayscale by going to black and white, but I lose a little bit of my desaturate and a couple of different options. If you want to have those options, you're going to have to rasterize it. So you're going to right click and you're going to have to rasterize the layer. That does mean you don't have the ability to scale it up and down like you did before. I mean, you still can, but it starts to lose its quality and it's everything. But that's just kind of, I think I could still make it black and white without having to do anything. I can just desaturate it a couple different ways. I'm going to go to the black and white option and just do it there. So you notice that kind of toned down him and brought up the 10,000, the yellow in the 10,000. So you can have it full color, you can have it black and white. I'm going to click on this man and I'm going to sharpen him just a little bit. So I'm just going down and going to sharpen and just going to sharpen him one notch just to kind of crisp up that image a little bit more. So I think there's one thing we could do to make this even better. So if you have another type of photo, sometimes you're stuck. The client or you, if you're doing your own YouTube thumbnails, you're stuck with a particular photo. You only have some set of photos. But as designers, we're always pushing ourselves to make better and better stuff. So what can make this even more of a high impact YouTube thumbnail? Well, we all connect with people's faces, so faces are great to have on there. Smiling faces are really good. Emotional faces, like angry faces, are really good. Neutral faces are not. But what if we had an even more exaggerated facial expression, like yes, like an excitement, just like this guy. This guy right here, look at that face. If we put him on a YouTube thumbnail, it would really grab people quite a bit. Of course, you're limited sometimes if you have to use the YouTube channel owner or whoever did the video, but just kind of showing you kind of that emotional psychology behind what photos to choose and what convert better and what is more effective in digital design. So let's isolate this guy. Let's see how we can do that. Let's see if we can't do our handy dandy select subject. Let's see what it does. I love this tool. One of the biggest reasons why you should upgrade to 2019 if you can afford it. Some people can't, that's okay. So we're going to do the same thing. We are going to just do a layer mask and get him. We could probably crop him a little bit. We're not going to need all that sky, are we? Just getting our crop tool and cropping him. And let's go ahead and bring him in. So this is going to be a second version. We're going to have two different versions. Let's have two different versions. So I'm going to go to our artboard, which is going to be right up here. I'm just going to click on the move tool, and I got my artboard tool, and I'm going to be adding an artboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the addition. It's going to add a new artboard, and I'm going to copy and paste what we had before, because I want to have two different versions to export, so I can do what's called A/B split testing. So I can try one image out, one thumbnail, to see how the video converts, and then I could try the other one out. That's called A/B split testing. You're basically seeing which one works the best. Everything in Artboard 1 we can copy over to Artboard 2. So I just selected Artboard 1 and I just copied. I'm going to go to Artboard 2 and I'm just going to paste. So it looks like it already added an artboard for us, so that's one step now I know that we don't have to do, so that's nice. So I went ahead and copied the artboard as well, so now we can work on both of these. So I still have our man jumping. Let's bring him over. And let's eliminate our man and our highlight, because we'll just have to see about that later. And let's see if we can't just paste this guy in. And of course, we want to right click over here in the layer and make that a smart object, convert to smart object, so now we can move him around and scale him around without issue. So where is going to be, we may need to zoom in for this one, where is going to be the best way to lay him out with the type? So what we want to do, and this is just kind of common design psychology, is we want to have eyeballs facing type, because as humans we look at people's eyeballs and we are interested in what they're looking at. So if you face the eyeballs toward the type, it helps connect with the type. So we're going to move him so his eyeballs are facing. We can always reflect him if we had to. But let's try a different type arrangement. So I'm going to select all of my type, move it over, and see if I can't find a better arrangement. So I'm going to have to make him a lot smaller. So here's kind of the new cropping and arrangement. We have the full length of the arm. If we were to crop the arm off, he kind of looks more angry than he does excited. So you have to think about how are you going to crop, what are you going to include in the photo to add that emotional impact. So let's rearrange the type a little bit. So he can probably punch through the N and the G, and we can move it here to make sure giving is still readable. So the right of the N and the left of the G, those are still readable letters. And let's just do a different arrangement and alignment. And we might need to make things a little bit smaller, and that's okay. I'd like to have that last zero covered just a little bit, but not so much, just a tiny bit to make it look layered, but we really want to make sure that $10,000 is nice and clear. And then 24 hours, we can toggle on our margins to make sure we are doing a good job with that. And we are. So let's add a little drop shadow to this guy as well, because we want to make sure he's casting, see how that shadow is casting on the G. Just like that. It's just really subtle, but it makes it feel more alive. Feels like it's really connecting to the piece. We can even do, if we want to be really fancy, we can instead draw our own shadow. So we're going to create a new, let's call this shadow. And we can draw our own shadow. So let's do kind of a dark color, just a black or neutral color. Get a small, soft, round brush, and we can paint on our shadow here for the man. And we could do this a little bit more realistically than the layer styles can, because we can paint it how we like. And then reduce the opacity a little bit. So, you know, whatever control you want to have over your drop shadows, you can always go back and trim your shadows at any time. And we could sit there and brighten up that photo and sharpen them, but I think we are at a stopping point here. So we have two different versions. Which one do you think converts better? The one on the left or the one on the right? And so the right grabs my attention more because there's more of an emotional response from the man. But the one on the left is nice too if you're trying to build up a personal brand on YouTube, because you have this nice, clear, zoomed in face, and you're getting to know the YouTube creator by having some facial recognition repeated in his thumbnails. So then we're starting to get into marketing and the business side of things. But it's great as a designer to be aware of this, especially if you're an intermediate and wanting to be an advanced level designer, thinking about psychology of design, thinking about what converts better, and thinking about how this is going to really be used by businesses, clients, and yourself is a really important step to make you not just a beginner, but an excellent designer.